Hi, everyone. This is Joni McGarry. Thank you so much for tuning in. My guest today is Patrick Wood, who has been called the world's living expert on technocracy, a title he has certainly earned after studying the topic for decades. He's the author of several books, including his most recent, The New Economics of Technocracy You Will Own Nothing. And he also writes a terrific Substack. All those links are in the show notes. I intended our talk to be a Technocracy 101, if you will, to introduce the concept to those who might not have heard of it and who are unaware that it is arguably one of the most important topics of our times. We'll get into the history of it a bit. We'll talk about how the Gaza rebuild is a test case for technocracy, and also talk about how you might help stop it in your own community. As you'll see, there is so much to this subject that it's impossible to convey it in an hour, so a follow up is going to be needed. Okay, let's get to the show. Patrick Wood, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure.
I am very honored to have you on. You are the living tech expert on technocracy and have been researching this for 5 decades. And I read your recent book, and I am completely bowled over by your depth of knowledge in this area of technocracy and how it's shaping our global reality. Um, so, to jump in, what we talked about earlier is what I would like to do is bring people along who maybe have never heard the word technocracy, who aren't really aware of what that is, and give sort of a 101 on this and how it is impacting our current event landscape. But first, if you want, you can give a little background on how you got into this and what your work is like.
Wow. Well, yeah, I started studying globalization when I was a young guy out of college, and actually, I was starting my career. But I ran into a guy by the name of Professor Anthony Sutton in 1977, I think it was, and he was studying the Trilateral Commission as I was as well, and we were alarmed uh, what was going on. Didn't really understand what was the whole picture. But we shook hands very quickly after that first meeting, and we decided that this is a big story. We have to tell it. And so we committed to do a newsletter at that point. That was before computers even,
This
we
was
had
in the 70s when the
paper
Trilateral Commission
newsletter.
was formed.
Yeah. So we studied the Trilateral Commission and wrote 2 books on it, Trilaters over Washington, volumes 1 and 2. So there's still a standard for analysis on the Trilateral Commission, and basically nothing's changed.
Hmm.
The faces that are still some of the same faces, but same objective to dominate the world and strip all the resources of the world away from the people, away from the nation states.
Could you
So
tell a little bit more about, like, just very briefly, how the Trilateral Commission came to be and what its charter was, and essentially what the power and influence it had out of the gate?
exactly when Zbigniew Brzezinski met David Rockefeller, they struck a relationship that lasted, well, till they died. Brzezinski was an academic at Columbia University at
Mhm.
the time, and he had written a book called Between Two Ages: America's Role in the Technocratic Era. Um, remembering that technocracy started at Columbia University in the first place in 1932, there's a clear connection there between
Mhm.
him and Brzezinski and the original technocrats. So, when he used the word technotronic and then he went to describe what that meant, well, this is technocracy today. We see it so clearly. But back then, nobody understood technocracy. It was just buried in history at that point. So, Brzezinski came to the table and with Rockefeller had, he he was the largest money guy in the world almost at that point, the chairman of, Chase Bank.
Mhm.
He had a lot of money,
Mhm.
obviously. He, had a lot of influence, but one thing he didn't have was resources.
Mhm.
He was rich in terms of cash, but he understood that the cash eventually would be, wiped out because, mathematically, it has to, uh, have a terminus, right?
Mhm.
So he set out to create a new international economic order. This was all over their literature and that at that day. And they said they're not interested in politics, even though they took over the Carter administration lock, stock, and barrel. They said, "Well, we don't care about politics." Now I understood. Well, when I started to study technocracy 15 plus years ago, I I fully understood at that point. They weren't lying to us. They didn't have any interest in politics at all. But in order to reform the global economy, you had to get your hands on the largest, economic engine in the world. That was the United States. So they took over all the positions, especially related to economic affairs, policy and treaties, stuff like that.
And in order to take over positions like that, because some people say, well, how did they do that? They would just put forward their candidates who were like minded. Is that like how
That
it works?
that was basically it.
Yeah.
They were very shrewd at first. I mean, Jimmy Carter was a member of the Trotta, Commission, so was his vice president, Mondale,
Hmm.
and then all the other people who he appointed to positions like, State Department and, energy. I mean, every
Hmm.
cabinet position except one was filled by a member of the Trilateral Commission. That's just clean sweep
And what was their aim?
to create a new international economic order. That's
Okay.
exactly what they said. They said it all over their literature. And you can see that the same language is still with them today, but now it's morphed, well, they've, put it this way, I guess, they've been successful at this point. They're not talking about it in future tense, but
Hmm.
no, they've done it. They've created a new international economic order. And, so at that point, we were trying to figure out what does new mean?
Hmm.
Because, well, economics is economics after
Hmm.
all. Sutton was a professor of economics. He knew what he's talking about.
Hmm.
So we scratched our head. What are these people doing? Um, but now we see that the only economic system in the world created from scratch is technocracy. There's nothing ever in history you can point to and say, "Well, that was the genesis of this new thing."
Hmm.
Technocracy's it. And, when they say new international economic order, that's exactly what they meant. So here we are.
So it was an order that would be national.
Exactly.
It would override sovereign states, globalist in nature. And this is in the 70s and continuing today. And you said, so you were studying this, you were alarmed by it, probably because it would erase our rights and national sovereignty. And the higher up the chain something gets, the fewer rights we have as citizens,
Mhm.
the less our representative government works, if we even have one anymore. Um, but then 15 years ago, you heard about and discovered the technocracy movement that was formed in the 1930s. And then it sounds like your research really took off with
It
the
really did.
alignment of technocracy. So, what is technocracy and how does it align with that movement that still continues today?
Well, let me just give you the official definition of technocracy from their own magazine, the Technocrat.
Mhm. And
That's
this is in the 30s.
original name, right?
Hmm.
This was from, let's see, this was from 1937,
Okay.
actually. They expressed this before, but this is very succinct. This is what they said: "Technocracy is the science of social engineering." That's what they led with. The scientific operation of the entire social mechanism to produce and distribute goods and services for the entire population. For the first time in human history, it'll be done as a scientific, technical, engineering problem. Then it went on. There will be no place for politics, politicians, finance, or financiers. Technocracy will distribute by means of a certificate of distribution available to every citizen from birth to death. It basically encompasses the whole ideology, especially the part there will be no place for politics or
Hmm.
politicians. Um,
So that means there's
Yeah.
no place for government of any kind of representative nature.
Exactly so. They express this openly,
Mhm.
openly. And even today, you see people talking about, "We need to get rid of the politicians. Just turn
Well,
it over to us."
I can see that, why they would say that, but we don't really want that. Um,
No.
so this was in the 30s, and, a lot of people could look at that and say, "Well, that's kinda sci-fi, it never really happened."
Yeah.
Let's talk about how things have changed and how it's able to be implemented today and what's happening with that, especially what you spell out in your new book. And I'm going back to basics here because it's so hard to get your mind around this topic unless you really know it. And most people have never heard of technocracy. So I'm
Yeah.
interested in making it, breaking it down for people who just aren't familiar with the terms and what's happening in its
Yeah.
name right now.
Yes, it's important to see the continuity of, the Trilateral Commission and how the resource-based economic system, uh, got started. When when Rockefeller first said, uh, that, he was gonna create a new international economic order, within 9 months, the United Nations passed a general resolution. That was a big thing, and nobody talked about it at the time, but they said in the same language, we're gonna create a new international economic order." He gave it in other words, he gave it to the United Nations immediately
Mhm,
because at that point, Rockefeller wasn't global. He had no other, influence, except in our country and
mhm,
as a banker, and so he knew if he could get some contagion to spread his ideas around the world, there you go. This
mhm,
is the new economic international, order. So the United Nations ran with that under the tutelage of Brzezinski and, um, Rockefeller.
mhm,
Uh, we came upon Agenda 21, for instance, 1992. That was an expression, same stuff, resource-based economic system. They wanted to control all the resources of the world, put them into their hands, and deny other people the right to use the resources in their country or in their possession. You had a 2030 agenda that came along, same thing. This is all based on uh, the idea that, resources were everything. So sustainable development, this is a product of the Trilateral Commission.
mhm,
All these documents that were written originally, uh by members of the Trilateral Commission. Gru Harlem Brundtland, for instance, she's considered the mother of sustainable development, even to this day.
mhm,
She was a member of the Trilateral Commission. She wrote the policy for sustainable development out of her own head and the policies of the Trilateral Commission. She wasn't running it. She didn't write it as a private citizen from Europe. There's no way.
mhm,
She had and there were other people at that point, who were assisting her, members of the Trilateral Commission. So we see the doctrines of sustainable development, and remember, Agenda 21 was the agenda for the 21st century.
mhm,
We're in the 24th first century now, so
mhm,
that you can look back and say, what is that? What was it all about? Well, it was it is about property rights, taking taking away property rights. It was about getting rid of fossil fuels. It was about global warming.
mhm,
A crazy, concept that but they figured if they can sell it, they could use it for their advantage. So, all that to say, and around 2000, you saw the the real genesis, the real spark of technocracy take off, and from that point on, the convergence of science, the the race to use, genetics as a tool. Uh, the AI was just starting to take off at that point. All these tools that have been invented since the year 2000, they're in full bloom right now,
mhm,
and they were very intentional how they did this in the first place. So, um, the what we're dealing with today, the surveillance, the the focus on energy. all these requirements were set down in the first place in 1932 or 33
Mhm.
by the the Technocracy Study Group.
Mhm.
Every point is seen in modernity right now. Every single thing.
Yes,
Um,
you lay that out really clearly in your book. You talk about, I think, 7 or 8 requirements in order to fully enact this technocratic agenda, which is very top down, no representation control. And because of the technology that's been developed, you're talking about we're really almost there. And so the system is in place. But let me just get back to a second the thing about the UN, the work, the Trilateral Commission handing off the new economic order documents to them, it becoming a thing through the UN Agenda 21 and 2030. um, the point I want to make that might not be clear to people who don't know about it that much is this ends up being international policy, and you know um, suggestions really from unelected officials that are being implemented locally
mm,
in nation states without our consent. Like, we consent to it in that it sounds really good. Who doesn't want sustainable development? Who doesn't want land under conservancy to preserve nature? I mean, I want those things.
yeah.
But so can you talk a little bit about why, like how they're operating this and why it's not a good thing? Like it's,
Well,
it's because
yeah.
it's coming from somewhere else.
Here's what the big swap is at this point.
Hmm.
Um, Property rights have been under attack for 30 years, 40 years at this point.
Hmm.
The purpose of that was to destroy property rights altogether so that we would be denied any property at all, and they would be the beneficiaries of that to get all the property into their hands. How this is played out with, and I'll float this word. I hate this word, tokenization.
Oh yes, it's
Tokenization of everything today. Everything. The stock market that they just announced few weeks ago, the stock market, New York Stock Exchange, is gonna be tokenized starting in this year. They're gonna do
what is tokenization? I
well,
it's a
token
hard thing to get your mind around.
I know exactly. Tokenization is a representation of a cryptocurrency and a concept called blockchain
Mhm.
that is supposed to provide transparency for whatever it is you're putting on the blockchain in the first place. But tokenization is the act of splitting some asset into a, a zillion pieces and offering it to say for sale around the world. They say this is the democratizing of uh, ownership or whatever. That's crazy, but they say, well, in the case, for instance, of a block of homes that BlackRock bought outright for cash after the financial crisis of 2008, they took those homes now, and those homes have been bundled together in a block, and they've been tokenized and sold to anybody around the world that wants a piece of that action.
Sort of like a share of stock?
It's kinda like a share of stock, but it's worse than that because it's totally transparent who owns what. There's no privacy in this system at all.
Mhm, mhm.
So so what's happened with everything being tokenized. Larry Fink, by the way, head of BlackRock, a member of the Trilateral Commission, you figure, he is, and he said, "Anything that can be tokenized will be tokenized in the future, period." This is what's gonna happen in the future. And they're starting it already
Mhm.
starting with the stock exchange. And so what we're trading is the opportunity to receive these tokens with the income stream that they might offer to you as an investor. Some people will be very happy with this because they can't get any return on their investment right now. So, well, I'll go this. I'll get some tokens. I'll increase my income perhaps,
Mhm.
and or my savings rate or whatever, and I'll be happy. But what you're trading away is you're right. to own sovereign property. So property rights are finally on the chopping block with tokenization. It'll be either or. If you like if you like the concept of sovereign property where you own it, you control it, you can defend it, you can paint the walls if you wanted, or whatever.
Mhm.
If you do stupid things with it, you lose. If you do great things with it, you win. And maybe you have a business, maybe you have a nice house, it doesn't matter what it is. America was built on the concept of sovereign property, period, end of subject.
Mhm.
You can't have America without sovereign property, not the way we knew it before, at
Mhm.
least. So, property rights and the right to ownership is going away rapidly with tokenization.
So let me just make the point. So if you say I own a house. Let's say I don't even have a mortgage. I own the house. Um, I have the deed.
Mm.
How can someone tokenize that?
It won't be until you sell it. If you in other words, a lot of people own their homes today,
Mhm.
and they have a title, and they can hold on to it as long as they can, unless, of course, the taxing authority squeezes you
Mhm.
and makes it so unaffordable, they're gonna sell it anyway.
Right.
Mm. So some people are in that position right now. So some old timers like who bought homes in the '60s and
Mhm.
'50s, whatever, they're being squeezed out because their house is worth a lot of money,
Mhm.
being taxed at that rate.
Mhm.
So they have a house payment even though the
Right.
whole the thing's paid off.
Right.
So, but this will be a rolling thing for sure because the property can't be, there's no light switch, just turn it off and on. But already the tokenization process has started around the world, or in our country especially. BlackRock and Stone
Mm.
and State Street, these people have huge bucketfuls of cash. They've been investing into real estate. And, so, uh, they've taken advantage of selling off part of their property with tokens to raise cash, if you will. Um, but once something is tokenized, you can't get it back. It's like taking a feather pillow in a windstorm and ripping it open and let all the feathers out.
And then trying to make the
You
pillow
ever get 'em?
back.
Can you
Yeah.
ever get them back? No, never. So
So, um, okay, so this is a huge topic that's hard to get your mind around. And one more point I want to make on that before we go to the USD1 thing, which I think is something I definitely want to get to from your book, because it's it's mind blowing. But back to the tokenization thing. Once something is tokenized, and say you own the share of it or whatever, and so you buy tokens, if there is a collapse, or if the whoever owns or holds that token stream, you are benefiting it and you pay for those tokens. You don't really have title to them, right? Somebody else. So that's the problem. Is it can be taken out from under you in the event of some kind of financial collapse.
yes, eventually, if you look ahead, 5 years from now, we'll be a nation of renters.
Mm.
We'll be a nation of, users with permissions to do things based on performance, maybe based on payments or whatever. But the idea of a user-based economic system, we've never seen this in the history of the world till now. Pay-per-view, everything, like that's what you say about movies, but pay-per-view economy means you'll rent it until you're done with it, and then you turn it in, and that's so you don't have to own anything. If you want a ride, you want a car or whatever for a trip, you'll rent it.
Right.
Maybe Uber, maybe
Car
whatever.
share that's
Yeah,
owned by
car
something
share.
else. Yeah. Yeah.
If you wanna, live in a house or a shelter or whatever, you'll rent that as well. You'll have your car, by the way, if you're lucky enough to own a car, you see this today. get in a Tesla and see what happens when you don't make your rental payment or your subscription payment for the software that they sell you.
Oh, is
Your
that what
car
it's I don't have a Tesla, so I don't know
yeah,
that,
I
but
know, I
so
don't do it. But
they can just shut it off.
exactly. So,
Right.
you subscribe to different levels of service in your Tesla, and if you don't pay those subscriptions, well, those features go away, like
Yeah.
maybe the self-driving part of it just goes away, or maybe you just, the whole thing gets shut down on you, and you're sitting on the side of the road that there you go, you walk away. It's
Yeah, you don't really and I think because of the trends of people can't afford to buy cars anymore, they have to have a car payment. People can't afford like, young people can't get into the housing market.
Yeah,
Um, so we're being sort of drifting toward this user-based system where you don't have any control of what you're able to really do in the world unless you meet certain criteria, and I think this is
right.
how somebody can understand it,
Yeah.
'cause you can say, "Well, we're never gonna have, like, what are social credit scores?" But we already kind of do, but you have to
We
have
do.
money and access to have things
Exactly.
ongoing rather than just buying something and taking care of it.
Everything comes with a terms of service today. The agreements, the click wrap, agreements, they're egregious. Whoever reads 100-page document, fine print, nobody does that, just sign here,
Right.
whatever you want, you get yeah, that's just formalities. Um, but when you run afoul of those terms of service, you're out.
Mhm.
You're erased from the system.
Or you have no
You see
recourse.
exactly. We
Yeah.
saw this all over the place when people, during COVID, when people said things on social media that they didn't like, they just pointed to this, terms of service agreement and said, "You violated that.
Mm.
You're out of here.
Yeah, it was a big
Shut your
tool for
mouth."
censorship.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just go back to, gosh, there's so much knowledge that you have, and I would recommend I'm gonna put your books in the show notes, and I highly recommend your Substack and the books, just to bring yourself along. You were talking about in your book how the pieces are in place for this technocratic system to start really rolling,
Mhm.
which means the erasure of representative government. It means the erasure of the sovereign state eventually, even if we have the pretense of one,
Mhm.
um, and the erasure of money and currency. So, could you talk a little bit about what's happening in the Board of Peace and Gaza that kind of illustrates the pilot case for this? Do I have that right? It seems like
Mhm.
this is something that is like the test case for what a technocratic state would look like in full
Yeah,
bloom.
exactly. It's a special test case for sure.
And
And
maybe start with the World Liberty Financial
yeah,
situation and how fraught that is.
yeah. Let me just make this statement first. The global order, the new global order is being erected right now. The old new world order is gone at this point. Trump has, made a mockery of the whole thing. The old order is gone at this point. A new world order is being erected, geopolitically as well as, financially, economics, whatever.
Everything.
Um, everything is on the table right now. So you can't look at current events according to what you used to know about globalization. It won't work for you. Your head will spin. So taking that, under consideration here, that the new thing is being created right now. Gaza fits perfectly as a area for technocracy. And when the Board of Peace was created at the World Economic Forum early this year, um, President Trump was there, Jared Kushner was there, his son-in-law, and other people. were involved with the Board of Peace. So when Trump said, "I'm going to establish the Board of Peace," he said, "Well, I'll be the chairman for life."
And he did this with an executive order, and it
No,
also has some kind of sovereign immunity, right?
yes, but he made the declaration before the executive order.
I see. Okay.
He did it as a private citizen. He didn't do it as a president of the United States at all. There's nothing it has nothing to do with our presidency at all. But when he declared, he was gonna be the chairman of the Board of Peace, uh, at that time, Jared Kushner came to the stage and gave, an assessment how that would affect Gaza. And he had a detailed plan for smart cities and, 15-minute cities in Gaza. It was a beautiful architectural drawing.
It's like a pitch deck,
Exactly.
investment pitch
It
deck.
was,
Yeah.
yeah, like an investor, a pitch deck, and what he said, about how the governance will take place in, Gaza, it'll be a technocratic administration. He used that word, technocratic. He says, it'll be run by technocrats, not, elected politicians. There'd be no representation at all for the people. You'll be administered by technocrats. This is this was so in your face at that point. Okay, well, fast forward now. Um, Trump at first said that, "Well, we're gonna take care of Gaza," but Gaza was never in the, charter in the first place. They made like a blanket charter
For the
that
Board of
they could go
Peace.
anywhere in the world that they wanted to go. So, they just said, "Well, Gaza's gonna be our first instance." So
Mhm.
so here comes Trump and the peace board into Gaza, and, their plan is to recreate a nation state with modern stuff on it, buildings, Trump towers, whatever, seaports, etcetera, in Gaza, and, they have to have a financial system, but they have nothing at this point. In fact, they look at Gaza as a green field at this point. There's nothing there but just bare dirt, except for you have 8 million people as subjects that you can work with. That's important for them. But, at this point, Gaza has been being turned into, not a protectorate, but into the hands of President Trump and, the peace board.
So they will be the people running and administering.
This is the governance layer.
Okay.
Not government, but the governance layer. So, beyond that, you have to they need a financial system as well because they have none at this point. They have no finance, no banks, and they're in
'Cause
anything.
they've all been bombed. The whole
Well,
system is broken.
yeah, the banking system has been destroyed for sure.
Yeah.
So, Trump will, provide for the financial system based on tokenization that we just discussed in Gaza, where everything in Gaza will be tokenized, all the land, the buildings that get erected, the income streams, etcetera, will all be tokenized. And conveniently, he had a company waiting in the wings called World Liberty Financial. It's his company. So, um, Liberty Financial has a product at the one point. This is their main thing right at this point, is USD1. Jared Kushner said this is the upgrade for the dollar, and
It's a stable coin.
it's like a stable coin. But aside from the stable coin aspect, stable coins are only for payments, to move money from here to there. Uh, they're not about assets. The stable coins are all about moving money from point A to point B, international trade, maybe country to country, maybe person to person, but That's the whole concept behind stable coins. But, on the other hand, you have the flip side of the equation is the tokenization of assets directly. That's that's not based on stable coins, that's based on tokens that can, make an expression of a physical asset. So they work hand in hand,
Because
but
it's
you
all digital, all on the blockchain.
it's all digital.
Mhm,
So, um, since January of this year, uh, Trump's company, uh, World Liberty Financial,
mhm,
said, "Well, we're going to be into the tokenization of assets business now," and they opened a division to do just that. So, you see they have the payment tokens, USD1, and they have the asset tokens coming along on the other side, and get that gives them a full spectrum view of the financial system for Gaza. So Trump is inserting his own company to provide, the financial system in Gaza,
the whole system.
okay, is layered. Look at it as a layered, stack of pancakes or whatever. You got
Mhm,
the governance layer, then you got the financial layer.
mhm,
Now you have to have the security layer as well because still the place is still a zoo.
mhm.
So, uh, Trump has used our military. Uh, and in particular, he's assigned a general to be in charge of a CENTCOM unit in Gaza to provide the protection for the whole all the construction and everything that happens, and he's drawn his membership of this peacekeeping force from Islamic countries, all all Muslims from the region, and he's building a 20,000, person cohort, if you will, from these, Muslim countries to be the police force and the security force in Gaza.
Let me
Now
just you called it a peacekeeping force.
mhm,
It is it a peacekeeping force, or
not really,
is it a
not
military
really.
force to secure investment?
That's exactly, that it's yeah, it's peacekeeping for the sake of the workers there who are gonna build the buildings.
Okay.
Um, so yes, that is you could look at it as a police force perhaps, but it's a security layer to
Mhm.
make sure that these investments will work for people, basically. They couldn't do it if they didn't have this. Who would invest money into a war zone?
Right,
Nobody would do it.
right.
So, but here's the deal. The security layer is being provided by these other nations under the control of a US general. Just think about this for a minute. Who does the general, answer to? Well, to Trump, for one. So Trump is at the top at the top of the pyramid. He's providing the security layer, the financial, layer, and the governance layer at the same time. So Gaza is an experiment for top-down technocratic rule, basically by one person who's the kingfish in the
Mhm.
room. And, you know, when Trump, said he's gonna be the chairman, for life of the peace board in the first place, he he didn't they didn't add the detail, and it's in the Constitution or the Declaration
Mhm.
that he has the right to secession as well. In other
Like,
words, he points his own, uh, leader. When he dies, who's gonna take over? This
well,
this is like a kingship at this point, um
it's, like, higher than a kingship. The thing that's really well, it's so troubling on many, many levels, but he is commander in chief over CENTCOM. So
mhm,
as the president, he's directing a private force of non-American soldiers or police keepers, whatever they are,
yeah,
in a foreign place. And then as a private citizen, he owns and his family owns, and this other, and I think they also, it's 49% owned by the director. of national security of the UAE,
UAE, that's right.
which I don't know if we need to get into that here, but that's again, read the book because it spells it all out. Um, and then he's developed what is kind of a currency, right? A stable coin. It's not an investment vehicle, but a payment system that's supposed to be better than the US dollar. So it's a gross misuse of the office at
Yeah.
the very least. And no and people don't even know anything about this that's happening. So but
Yes.
now we're in Gaza, and it's a test case for this technocratic rule because, as you've pointed out, you have one board of people, really one person, but directing it through family members and other people on this board of peace. They're going to rebuild this war zone that I would argue they helped destroy
Mhm.
into this new nation.
Exactly. Overlaying this Gaza with a new concept of the new trade corridor that's being erected from India to Europe.
Hmm.
It passes through Saudi Arabia, UAE, into Israel, then on to Europe.
Hmm.
It's gonna be the biggest trade route that you ever saw in your life, I'm sure.
It's called the
The world
IMEC. Yes.
Oh, IMEC. It stands for, I India,
Yeah.
uh, it's the
Middle East corridor. Is it?
Middle East corridor,
Yeah.
that's right. This is not just a trade route, this is gonna be a corridor where you have fiber optic cables for data, you'll have, pipelines for, hydrogen, helium perhaps, oil, natural gas, and this will be pumped into Europe, and then you have all the physical goods on ships and railroads, etcetera. This would be a trade corridor that the world has never seen before, and, it just so happens that it passes right in front of Gaza. Just small little detail here.
Hmm.
Uh, and the port of the deep water port of Haifa is just 93 kilometers north of Gaza Strip. And, so Trump has, or at least the architect has, their own version of a deep water port in Gaza as well. But Gaza is gonna be the major beneficiary of
This
the
trade route.
trade route. It's gonna traffic trillions of dollars of goods along the way. So it's gonna be a major, major thing, and Trump has set himself up to be the beneficiary of this whole thing.
Because it won't be Gaza that's really benefiting in that the people there, which I wanna talk about, like, they're not gonna be the beneficiaries of this
Oh,
wealth, right? Or it's what happens to the Palestinians there? Like, what happens to the people who actually survived this,
yes.
what it has happened to them?
They
How do they fit into this fancy, new,
I know.
shiny,
Yeah, yeah,
technocratic system?
yeah.
I mean, they're gonna live in it, right?
Maybe some of them will think it's a great thing to have, peace for once,
Sure.
and
And
they have
sanitation and yeah, I mean, you could make that argument like, "Well, it's
yeah,
better than what it was,"
I know, yeah. So maybe they have a job that they have electronic wallet now. They receive their tokens for their work they do,
Mhm.
but they'll be total captives at that point. So if they step out of line, they're gonna be, you know, dealt with like China does with their social credit scoring system.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, the people, maybe some of them would be happy about it. Maybe some will leave. I don't know, but it's a captive society. When we look at them and look at the United States, what we used to be as a free people.
Mhm.
This is the polar opposite. This is the extension of technocracy. This is
Mhm.
the perfect thing that technocracy said in the first place. This is exactly what would happen. So this is a model for the rest of the world. That's the only thing you can look at it.
Well,
Um,
and it's building a machinery where you have this board of peace that will then take this model if successful,
yeah,
I can't predict the future, but they could take that model to any other place
mhm,
and impose it,
yeah,
after some kind of catastrophe, especially when the people are very
yeah,
vulnerable.
exactly. So here's the new world order is being erected, as I said before. You have the board of peace. That's the big element for sure. Creating a technocracy in Gaza. That's it, that's the beacon, if you will.
Mhm.
But now, since President Trump's, trip to China with all the tech oligarchs in
Mhm.
tow, um, you all of a sudden you have the board of investment and the board of trade.
Can you talk a little bit about that too? Because you had a very different take on that meeting in China than any other outlet did. I listened, and I'll put the link to your conversation with Marilyn Lass in the show notes. It was really interesting to me.
Well, what Trump proposed to the chairman was, let's create the board of trade and the board of, uh, investment, and use that as a vehicle to channel our agreements, if you will, for trade, global trade. This has all been about global trade first place. Um, but when Trump said in for the Board of Peace to the United Nations, "Well, you guys have been a bunch of screw ups, so we're gonna take over that function to make peace in the world with a Board of Peace." He said openly said that. So now with the Board of Investment and the Board of Trade, he's basically, telling the World Trade Organization, "You guys have also been a bunch of screw ups. We're gonna take over that function as well." So, now there's a new, avenue to consolidate, uh, global trade. China's gonna be part of that for sure. They're not our enemies at this point. I don't think they've ever been our enemies, but they're not, they'll be going forward, they'll be our friends. And
So, are the Board of Trade and the Board of Investments, are they similarly um, structured as the Board of Peace?
nobody said anything about it at this point. There's no membership. They in principle, they've put it together,
Mhm.
and I haven't seen any documents since, but when Chairman Xi comes to United States, I think it's, this fall, this is one of the things they're gonna solve, to populate those boards, and, activate them, if you will.
So the concern is that they will have similar power as this Board of Peace, and
Yeah,
without any accountability to the citizens of the nation states they purport to serve.
exactly. You got it. Yeah. So China has, had there's a new face of China that's emerging. It's technocracy. Uh, it's been defined as a technocracy even by Time Magazine for
Mhm.
its year
Many
2000,
years ago, yeah.
many years ago. Yeah, 26 years. Oh my gosh, can't believe it. So, uh, at this point, China is, uh, joining the world stage, if you will,
Mhm.
for the sake of technocracy. And who would have thought that China would be buying oil from the United States?
Is that really happening? Because you
It is.
mentioned that,
It is.
and
It
that did
ab
that come out of, Trump's discussion with
absolutely, absolutely. So, China has been sidelined for energy very, very cleverly so by Trump. Uh, Panama Canal was stripped away from China. The first thing he did when he came in 25. Uh, Venezuela was a huge supplier of oil from now they're denied that. Now the Strait of Hormuz is all upside down. They can't, get oil there. And so Trump says, "You know what? We have lots of oil in America. Come here, buy from us.
Mhm.
You'll be happy." So
Which isn't what you'd do if you really were having an enemy of China.
I
You wouldn't.
know this
Yeah,
this is
it's
this is blowing the pundits' brains to smithereens. They just can't process this. What? China's buying boatloads of oil from us now, and the promise is they'll also be able to buy, oil from Alaska as well. So this is a long-term structural arrangement
Mhm.
that Trump has set up this is the new face of globalization going forward.
Mhm.
The building blocks have been rearranged, put it that way.
Let me take a counter argument about China and technocracy. China has lifted a lot of people out of poverty in the last many, it's a couple decades. I think people feel pretty safe there. I know some people who grew up there and they say they're much safer there than living in New York City. Uh, people, you know, what could it seems like there's some benefit to, using those systems to elevate, people's standards of living. I mean, I'm not a fan of it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the case could be made that some people might want to embrace this kind of thing versus the America we're living in right now, which, because we've lost our, constitutional way, doesn't seem so great.
You're absolutely right. Young people in America today, they're embracing technocracy like crazy. They really are. They're fed up with the political system. They see no future for themselves at all at this point. So what the hey,
Right.
let's try something else. And technocracy is being offered as the panacea. Some young people today say, you know what, just turn it over to AI.
Right.
We'd be better off just let AI make decisions for us as a society and get rid of the politician.
Well, what would you say to people who see the promise of this and say, it's just better than this war-torn world and this poverty-stricken, people in America at each other's throats and all that? What is lost? If you were knowing what you know and how these things work, what is lost when a society goes that way?
Wow, you're losing a lot. What we had in America, and it wasn't perfect for sure. There were always people who were kind of screwed from the system somewhere along the way. But by and large, the free market economic system that we've enjoyed in America, all predicated on private property, by the way.
Hmm.
If you can't have private property, there would be no industry in America at all. So, this is going away. But the American experiment, I hesitate to use that word, but, the slice of history that
Hmm.
we have in America, 250 years, um, it's been predicated on personal sovereignty, and this goes away with technocracy. There's no personal sovereignty. There's no privacy, either,
Which
and
we're already seeing.
yeah. So, if people are willing to give up their personal sovereignty in order for an external sovereignty to come and say, "You are gonna do this and you're gonna do that," or whatever, well, maybe you like to take orders. Maybe that's you figure, "Well, I'm just gonna take orders for the rest of my life."
Hmm.
I don't like that at all. I explain to people, we were built on freedom of the individual to do what he wants to do, sink or swim. Some
Hmm.
people sunk and others win.
Hmm.
But nevertheless, the free market economic system we've had in America, it afforded untold amount of industry, wealth creation, etc. Um, and we're risking this at this point
Hmm.
altogether to the oligarchs who are running everything.
Hmm.
And when you consider, do you want, for instance, if Elon Musk, for instance, would were to declare himself king, uh, or just say X is going to be the king, or Grok going to be controlling everything.
Hmm.
Do you want that kind of power vested in one person to be the lord over all?
Even if there were 10 or 100 of them, no.
I know that this exactly, and even AI is going so fast. It's
Oh,
going so fast at this point. AI will have the ability at some point to take over the whole world. It really
yes.
will be. And do you want an impersonal force, not human at all,
Yeah.
to be lord over you and your activities, in this on the planet? I don't think
Yeah.
so. It's gonna be very, very hard taskmaster.
Well, and there's no unwinding it once it's in place, you
This
know?
this is a problem as well. The
Yeah.
technocracy, it runs on infrastructure. It always has. This has been a major revelation to me over the years. Technocracy runs on infrastructure. Once they get the infrastructure in place, things have to snap to it.
Alright, tell me a little bit more about that, because I think that is what we're talking about a little bit with the data centers and what people can do.
Yeah.
Um, Tell me more about the infrastructure and what can be done there.
This is a good point. Case in point, all these data centers that are being erected around the country, about 5,000 at this point. It's incredible.
They're
And
huge.
just huge, and they're wrecking our water system, they're wrecking our power systems, um, and there's no race with China, by the way. China only has about 375 data centers versus our 5,000 data centers. There's no race. That's a lopsided expression. There's no race at all. But nevertheless, we have infrastructure in America. The infrastructure is being built to control every facet of society right now, right before our eyes. The infrastructure is it won't sit there idle. They're building it with an intent to use it.
Mhm.
Why I mean, who what would be the purpose of building something
Right,
not to use it, right?
right, and it's not just to store, your photographs of your kids' graduation.
Yeah, or yeah, exactly, or your pets or whatever, yeah, the kitty videos.
Mhm. Well, eek. Um,
No, that's not what it's for. It's for the infrastructure of technocracy, and, the infrastructure, uh, begs for people or it appeals like a siren call.
mhm,
Come join us, come join us, come join us." There's a lot of people who grew up on Star Trek.
mhm,
There was a race of beings and the movie or the series called the Borg.
mm,
The Borg, they were an odd, group, but they s they were all, fitted with technology. They're merged with the machine. They had a hive mind where everybody was thinking the same thing all continuously, and they acted as a group, not as individuals.
mhm,
And their famous line was, "We will assimilate. Resistance is futile.
mm,
Your consent is irrelevant." This this is exactly what's going on right now.
mhm,
It it begs you to be assimilated into the technocratic system by these features. The data centers will offer, uh, maybe free AI for everybody. I don't know if that won't be possible, but, when you consider, for instance, the IMEC trade corridor, it's compelling. Everybody wants to participate with it.
mhm,
By the way, rewind just for a second with, the Abraham Accords
mhm.
that were signed and the first Trump administration, that those are architected by, Jared Kushner.
You also talk about this in your book,
I
so
know, and
yeah.
the idea was to bring peace to the Middle East based on trade, not politics. That's an important distinction. Politics has always failed in the Middle East, and it'll always fail. But based on the trade aspect, people can agree about trade issues
Right.
where they could put their political differences aside for a time and focus on trade. This is exactly the what Trump did in China when he wanted that I'm sure exactly what he said. We have to put our political differences aside. We create this new trade system. You can benefit from it. We will benefit, and we'll all be happy campers, and
Mhm,
the world will be at peace, and, we'll live happily ever after. Sure. That was a lie, but no,
mhm,
I'm just being facetious.
mhm,
But this this everything in the world today is built around trade, global trade, moving goods and services here and there and profiting off of it. And this is a system now that is being will be controlled by that trade based on the infrastructure that they put together for it. There's no other infrastructure at this point. Nobody else is doing anything. China tried to create the BRI program, the Belt and Road
Road.
Initiative.
Mhm.
They've done a lot of stuff around the world, don't get me wrong, but when Trump came along and Kushner came along and say, "We're gonna create this IMEC corridor from India all the way to Europe," it just blew them out blew it would have blown their minds at this point. The people in the BRICS nations right now, they're just beside themselves with what Trump has done. And, I'm not making apologies for Trump, by the way. I'm just saying
I know.
he's been an architect of this thing from the get-go, and he's done a brilliant job, um, to create this new, system of global trade.
And so, getting back to the infrastructure in our country and the data centers, because we're going to be wrapping up soon, and I don't want this point to not make it in here. So, there's this rush to build these data centers in this country, and that's where a lot of this technology is going to be live, and builds capacity for this system to surveil us, to store all our transactions on the blockchain, to obviate privacy. All of the things that people really shouldn't want, but have been lulled into wanting. There's been this race to build them. There is a fair amount of resistance.
Yeah.
And also, so I talk about that as maybe their Achilles heel, and then also just the energy for this. Like, how, if we have an energy issue, and maybe we don't, how do you, is that going to be a possible block for these things to be fully online and functional?
People across the country are so upset over the energy misuse at this point. These technocrats have just come into communities and just raped them blind with their energy and water and stuff. We have it in Arizona. Amazing. So there's hundreds of thousands of people across our country right now that are protesting actively
Mhm.
against data centers on all levels. They're going to city council meetings to appeal the legitimate way to try and convince them don't do that.
Mhm.
But they're also mounting, picket lines around the data centers themselves when the construction starts. Um, so the problem is the mainstream media won't tell you the stories, even 20 miles away from you. Uh, what's going on with them? There's the alternative media hasn't done a very good job either, I don't think, but
Because
that
a lot of communities, all of a sudden, taken unawares, there's a data center going in,
yeah,
and their representatives have made some deal.
yes,
So yeah, and why do you think that the mainstream media isn't covering such things? Do you think they're captured by the industry?
absolutely so. At this
Yeah.
point, there's no way they're gonna buck the system or the narrative.
Well, I
And
know in our community, and I interviewed a city council member recently. We're a university town. Indiana University is here, and he is very concerned about AI, especially AGI, leading to an extinction event for humans. And he proposed a resolution to the city council to, just a statement that we support a moratorium on this for a while, and it couldn't get passed because it had to be withdrawn because the university felt that for the city to make such a declaration, it showed us as anti-technology and it might jeopardize grant funds. So he had to pull the resolution because he didn't want it to fail. I mean, so
yeah,
that's just one example. But anyway, back to the data centers. People are protesting. Do you think that there could be success with this? Do you think that if enough people
in
start?
many cases, yes, in many cases, they are being successful.
Mhm,
It's just like when the big box stores came to blanket America, the Walmarts, the
mhm,
Costcos, whatever. A lot of cities sent them packing
mhm.
because you're gonna come in here and you're gonna destroy our local economy. You're gonna run all of our artisans out of business, and, it'll be, yeah, prices will go down, whatever. We don't wanna destroy the culture in our city. So a lot of cities sent them packing, but you know what? They just went down the road to
Right.
another city and
Yeah.
condemn and says, "Oh, we don't care about you. We go somewhere else." And, you the unsung heroes of that movement, they're just in the dustbin of history at this point.
Mm.
But they were very effective, and we have an opportunity right now to, I think as a nation, because this is not just one store being erected in your community that you have to buy. We have the whole country is under siege right now.
Mhm.
And so we have an opportunity to rise up as a nation to make a huge protest on these things, and this is probably the the Achilles heel of the whole industry at this point, these data centers. If they can't get them erected, or they can't get them operational, or they can't get the power or the water, whatever, it gets cut off, um, they're out of business. They're out of business. And at this point, I saw one statistic, by the way, that there's been, I think, $156 million of projects that have been scuttled by protests. That's
That's
kind of the top
encouraging.
of the bucket, but,
Yeah.
hey, it's a start. It's a start.
Well, I think and it has to be done at the local level
It
because
does.
that's
Totally.
where it's not like there's a federal, blanket agreement that although I think they'd like to have one, that, all these things get built. It has to be done on the city council level. So, I'm just gonna encourage everyone to look up in their community, to find out what's happening and
Yeah,
get to your city council members and let them know that you're not gonna stand for it.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
and don't be timid.
The time for timidity is past.
I know, and by the way, the administration, the feds now have targeted, protesters, especially anti-tech protesters around the country. In other words, they're leveling the surveillance, mechanism to catalog anybody that's protesting city councils or, any other, picket line, whatever. You're gonna be potentially captured by the machine with surveillance
Mhm.
technology. I say go for it. You already identified so many
Right.
ways.
Yeah.
Go for it. Don't worry about, them take a picture of you.
Right.
Say your piece because this may be the last piece you say. So
Right. And I think we have to think about the country that our children are inheriting,
yes,
and that's
absolutely.
yeah. I would love to talk more about this, but I have a hard stop, and I hope you'll come back for a couple more tutorials because your knowledge is so deep and broad, Patrick. And I want to encourage everyone to read your books. Before we break, can you tell people where to find you? And I'll put all of it in the show notes.
You bet, yeah. Amazon has all of my books. There's a hardback on and paperback on this book, that is,
I'm,
this one here. Yep, that one.
yep.
This is
Yeah.
hard. Actually, that's a copy of it.
Yep.
Um, and there's audiobooks on everything as well. All of my books are audiobooks as
Hmm.
well. So there's Kindle versions as well.
Hmm.
If you wanna buy a copy from technocracy.news, I usually send out autographed copies at no charge, but I like to do that just to give a personal touch, and I have a discount schedule, heavily, uh, discounted schedule for people who want to buy multiple books to give away, maybe
Hmm.
legislators, the city council, I don't care, whatever. The discount goes down to 50%.
Great.
So, I encourage people, get a lot of books, stack them up, give them away as fast as you can.
No, I
It's
think it's important to get the word out. One of the things we didn't mention, and maybe we can get into it next time we talk, is that the technocracy, technology around all this stuff is beyond the grasp of most of our legislative officials, and
Mm,
so they have to turn to the industry to advise them on policy. And so, that's just a circular problem. So in your book really can spell out it. I got it. I read it. It's very good. So yes, I think it's a great idea to give it to every city council member you have.
yeah.
And then you also have a great Substack. Can you tell us where to find that?
Oh, yeah, that's
Okay,
patrickwood.substack.com, and, I use that as a kind of auxiliary, thing, to publish, extraneous stuff that I wanna talk about.
great. And it's really, really current. I just read your article on the acceleration. So I'm a big fan. And even though it's not stuff I really want to know about, honestly,
Me
but
I agree with you. I don't wanna know it either.
yeah, yeah.
It'd be
But
nice.
it,
Oh,
re-
yeah.
it really is happening. It sounds crazy, but if you just pull the camera back a little bit, you can see it everywhere.
Yes. Exactly.
Everywhere. So, thank you so much for your dedication to getting the truth out and for talking to me. And let's definitely do this again.
My pleasure. Thank you
Okay.
for,
Thanks. Bye.
bye-bye.